Hello, my name is Starlight. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and I'm reaching out to all of you beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight was. But anyway, besides getting out in nature, I hope you're being kind to yourself and others. And please, pretty please, be good to your kids. Look for all the things that they do good. Reward them for the things that they do right. Say, hey, good job. So that is what you want to focus more on than what they're not doing right. So anyway, I love you, and if you are new to my YouTube channel, welcome. And you could find me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight, and that is Kathy with a K, Dingman. And here, today is a beautiful day. And also, if you are new to my YouTube channel, welcome. And you can also give this video a thumbs up. Plus, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can leave me a message down below. Beep, beep, beep. Let love guide you, not fear. You can reach out to Starlight and say hello. And also, you can share these videos with your family, your friends. A seagull? I've seen one of those. And what other animals have I seen? Little fishies in the river, the stream. That's what I've seen today. And yes, you could share my videos with those pets of yours. And also, you could check out my playlist. Don't forget that, because you never know what the heck Starlight was talking about and is talking about today, and will talk about later on. As far as videos go. So don't forget to check those out. And also, you could check out me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K, Dingman Starlight. Whew. So anyway, Starlight's a little thirsty today. So anyway, this is a huge part about what my YouTube channel is. It's about be the change that you want to see in the world, and it starts with you. Yeah, you and 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 you. So yeah, it starts with you, and it starts with me as far as being the change. And it really, it is hard to reach kids out on YouTube, with the way YouTube channel is. And with parents there. And that's why I am using YouTube to reach out adults, because that's where all the shit happens, is because of adults, and because they could have came from families that weren't educating them right. Maybe they didn't know how to educate their children. Maybe because their family had no clue what they were doing, and their family before. Because I'll tell you, I've seen it, throughout my ancestors, my families, before me, my grandmother, and, it's amazing. I even meet people all the time on this journey, and I'm like, how the heck did they make it through? I'm like, I know a lady right now that, she's old enough to be my mother, but she's got a cell phone, but doesn't know how to use the GPS. She doesn't know how to use that. I'm like, how, so she doesn't go anywhere. She's always counting on her son to help her out. So, she's not the only one. So I'm making this video for many, many, many reasons, and it's so important. These are things that nobody wants to talk about, but they need to be talked about. So I am definitely putting my ass out here in the line on this topic, because it is so vitally important, and this is a big, huge part of my YouTube channel. So this is more of a serious video today, and I got all dressed up because I needed it today. I really needed to, dress up today because of how my morning and part of my afternoon went. So I do have somebody very special that really made my afternoon. And I really appreciate you for really helping me to get my heart rate going in a good way, and putting love in my being. So I really appreciate you helping me out today. And it is funny how this goes, is sometimes it doesn't take much, to really help somebody out. And that's why it's so important to be kind to yourself, your loved ones, your family, your kids, your husband, wife. If they're being, a good supportive, like spouse, husband or wife, boyfriend or girlfriend, you need to be there for them. And, like when they come home from a hard day at work, let them know how much you appreciate them. Don't like wait, for them to come home and start bitching and complaining about everything that went wrong. That's not how you're gonna, that's not the way you want to welcome them back home, because then they're gonna want to take more hours, and stay out of the house more and avoid you, whether you're a girl or a guy. So you want to welcome them and say, honey, I missed you. Let them have their space, let them wind down, before you get all excited to say everything that you want to say. Let them have their time and let them relax, let them get their shower, let them eat, then you can pour and then you can tell them everything. But it is so important that you love the ones that are there, and if they are not loving and supportive, and if they're abusive psychologically, mentally, physically, sexually, spirit, any kind of abuse, if they're verbally abusing, that's sticks and stones may break my bones, but names, how many times I said that growing up to my brothers, and I was like so confused. I'm thinking, why am I even saying this? It doesn't make any sense, because I knew what both felt like, and physical abuse or psychological abuse or verbal abuse, so this video is really not about me. It is about the children of the future. But a lot of people know what it's like to be abused in different forms. But today it's just about talking about physical abuse, and there's all types of forms of that. And really today I really want to focus on how you are disciplining your kids. How are you disciplining? You brave? You could leave me a message down below. What do you do to discipline your kids? What works? What doesn't work? In what order do you do the disciplining? Are you brave? So I thought so. Yeah, everybody's like, no, Starlight, I'm not going to tell you that stuff. But anyway, today is about, do you have to beat your kids to get them to obey you? And so I do have to say I do have a history of this in my own life, and I've been at both ends. So this is not an easy video for me to make, but it's necessary. It needs to be made. And it's for the future of the kids, for them. So if I can reach you as adults to help you, as far as should you beat your kids, and, as far as getting them to obey you, so that is what this is all about, is do you have to beat your children to get them to submit or to obey, like the things that like clean your room? No, I don't want to. So how do you handle that? There's lots of ways of handling that. And we all come from different backgrounds, and many people in society has been abused one way or another by a family member or family members, or like every member of their family. So I'm laughing because it's that sad that this is still happening. In what year? What year is it? 2024. And this is why I have a YouTube channel, because we're going around in this cycle. This wheel just keeps on going around. And because all these systems, it starts with the school, how they program our children, the churches, the government, the hospitals, the doctors, the police departments. We're all in this cycle, that is really tripping people up, and people are just keeping us going around in circles, where that's why children are still being abused. That's why still today people are not getting the education, the right proper education that they need today, is because of all the lies and the deceit out in the world, like with the school system of, taking out things out of the history books, adding into the history books of lies and deceiving many people. But of course, that is ran through the government. So really the best way of teaching your kids is to homeschooling them. Find out the right kind of education for homeschooling. They have tons of stuff out there for homeschoolers out there. And, a lot of people think, my kid's going to be anti-sociable, when they get older, and they're going to have social problems as far as getting out in the world. And that is not always true, so there's a lot of things out in the world that they say, and, talk about conspiracy theories. It's like the ones that, the conspiracy theories out there, most of them are probably true, and everything that they tell you is the truth is a lie, because everything in this world is upside down, inside out, twisted world. So it's upside down, inside out, backwards, inside out, upside down, backwards world. So everything that you thought was true ends up being a lie, and everything you thought was right, or thought you thought you were right, but question your own insanity and think, oh no, I can't be, because this is how society taught me, this is what my parents taught me. But your parents have been deceived, their parents have been deceived, so you really cannot really get upset with your parents for what they've done to you, because they've been deceived. So really we need to break these cycles, we need to change these cycles. So change each cycle as they come, and we can make this change in the world, but we need each other to make these changes, because there should not be any children today being abused from how long ago, and it's still happening. Is it getting better? Absolutely not. I cannot see that is getting better right now, but not saying that it can't. So this is why people really have to deprogram themselves, let go of those self-limiting beliefs and those old programs that are no longer serving you. You need an upgrade like Starlight has, and that's why I am, by the records, my name is Kathy, but really I got an upgrade, and that's why my name is Starlight. It's about reprogramming your mind and your way of thinking and doing things, so you can have a happier, peaceful life and bring that into other people's lives and families, so then their children can have a brighter future than what they're going to have today if we don't step out there and make those changes first with ourselves, then help other people. And that's what I do here, is to help other people to work on themselves, so then they can do the work on themselves, and then they can go out and help other people. If we all just stepped in and did this, the world would be a safer and better place, for the children and their children's children generation, like Michael Jackson, Heal the World. That is a song that Starlight's been working on as far as singing. I got to perfect that baby yet, but or The Man in the Mirror. Those are so lined up with my YouTube channel. So anyway, now people people that go to church, a lot of Christians all around, everywhere. I have gone from New York, and I'll tell you what, the more south I went, the worse it got. As far as Christians went, as far as people that are trying to get people to go in their church, they're very forceful. They are a lot different. I've met a lot of different Christians everywhere, all over the place, and they're a lot different in certain areas. When I went to the southern part of Florida, yes ma'am, no ma'am, when I hear that, I know a lot of beatings were happening in their homes. It's like, and and that's not just Starlight running her mouth. I actually talked to a lady and I said, wow, because it kind of gave me some backflashes, because the wicked church I came from, a cult church, is they did the yes sir, no ma'am, and all that stuff. And she said, well, you said it, because if you didn't, you got beat for it. Really? So this is what this is all about. In the Bible, they do have lots of verses, and I did study this out and wrote those out, and these are things that I had to deal with at the cult church I went to, because that pastor, Michael T. Keenan from Pennsylvania, Old Pass Baptist Church, was teaching and preaching about beating your kids with a rod where it actually cut open on the kids' bodies. And when I say cut open, and that is from the bottom rear end, and there was times that people would ask the pastor, hey pastor, what do we do when there's so many marks on our child's butt? Is that, we don't want to keep on beating them on their ass. What should we do? Because we still want to beat them. And his answer is, hey, you got the back and the legs. So, now, of course, now what happened to that pastor? See, it all stems back to how he was brought up and what he was taught. So he's only doing what he was taught to do to his kids. So do you have to beat your children? So, and I say I've been on both sides of this. I've been at the one end of getting beat and at the other end of holding the stick. So I have experience on both parts of this, and that is why these videos are important. And I'm sorry I'm not smiling a lot today, are we? Not at all. This is a serious topic, but I'm here, and this is probably going to be a long video here on this topic because I don't want to rush into this video. So in the Bible, depending on what version, I didn't really check out with the version of Bible that I checked out this morning, but normally I go by the King James Version Bible because that's what I went by. So in Proverbs 23:13-14, that is chapter 23, verse 13 through 14 is, do not withhold discipline from a child. If you strike him with a rod, he will not die. Now on this point, before I even talk about those verses, there are several ways of disciplining your children first before you decide to grab a rod, whether you do or not. I'm not here to tell you what to do on how to raise your children, but really, parents, you, what kind of an example are you as a parent when you're just, bringing up your kids? That's where this is where all the problems come, is like, so you have a parent that is not an honest parent, and now they're going to raise up kids, and they're going to lie to their kids, and their kids go to school and they get educated, and then they start learning. They learn to form words. They learn how to read sentences. After a while, they start, learning how to do so many other things like comprehension and, putting stories together. And then this is when the wheels inside their heads start spinning, when they're learning about facts and about opinions. What is a fact and what is opinion? And then they go home and they study their parents like they have been from the day they were born all the way up until they're learning how to, nowadays, I don't even know when they're reading because they probably already got, multiplication down, in first grade. I don't know. I don't know. These kids are, it's a lot different generation, as far as education goes. When I was a kid going to school, so I was still doing like times, in sixth grade. Then, in sixth grade, they're probably already into division and, fractions and all that. I have no clue. So anyway, now the kids go home and then they're like, I've been getting beat for lying. My parents beat me if I lied, even though in the beginning, do children know when they start off that, lying is not good? No, it's something that you have to teach them. Now, how are you going to teach them that lying is bad? Can I have is there anybody going to raise any hands out there? Hey, oh yes, what? By being honest, right? You gotta be honest yourself as a parent. Are you always honest to your children when you speak to them, when you tell them different things, what kind of information you tell them? Or do you think, they're just kids, I can lie to them, I can tell them, and they'll believe anything because it came from, their parent. They're supposed to, don't children supposed to trust their mom and dad and, and When mom and dad says something, that means what they're saying is truthful. Well, and I do understand some of you might, make mistakes by saying something that you thought was right and wrong, and then to find out it was wrong. But really, if you don't know something, it's good to research it and find out. These days, it's so easy. Now you could go on the computer and research it. Your kids come home, ask you thousands of questions. If you don't know it, don't give them a false answer, number one. Don't tell them about Santa Claus because you're lying to them. Should your children get beat for lying when you're lying? You number one, you have to be an example yourself to your children, what kind of example that you want them to follow. This is why millions of kids all around the world and all the way, lots of kids get abused when the parents are the ones at fault. The parents are not being that great example that they need to be in order for the children to know how to follow. And then the parents, a lot of times, not all, is because now the children are not obeying you, they get beat. They get beat for following a poor example. To teach, to lie to the kids constantly, and then to beat them when they lie. Or there's some wicked families out there where what they do is they did something wrong and they got caught, but instead of, admitting because they're dishonest people, they say, because the husband or wife is going to believe the wife or the husband, that the kids did it. I didn't do it. One of the three had to do it because I didn't do it. So now you got 3 kids, or who knows how many these days, right? One of them actually, or all 3 of them, depending on the house rules, somebody's going to have to take a beating because somebody stole something in the house. Now, the truth of the matter is that none of the kids did any of it. It was one of the parents. But there's either both parents discipline the kids as beating, as taking a rod or a stick or whatever you use, like in the beatings, like in the old days, but that's not, or even a belt, is, to beat your children for things that the adults, you might think that sounds crazy, but that shit happens. So, wait until those 3 kids find out they were getting beat for something that they didn't even do. So, and before you even think about, if you think you have to discipline your kids, there are other ways. So number one, you got to be the example for the kids to follow. If you're acting like a child yourself, how is that going to really help your children to follow your example when you're having a fit, when you're impatient, when you're yelling and screaming, throwing things around the house? What kind of example is that for your children to follow? So not everyone is meant to be a daddy or a mommy. There's lots of people out in the world, they should have never had kids. Just because they were able to make kids doesn't make that they're going to be a good mom or a good dad, and everybody knows that. So if you cannot be a good mom or be a good dad, maybe there's things you are dealing with yourself. Maybe you're the one that needs to get some help. They do have programs out there that will help you. Maybe you need a break. Maybe, because of your past and what you've gone through, is maybe right now is not a good time for you to be bringing up your kids. And to me, if you really love your kids, you would find someone else to temporarily help you out with your children so you don't further abuse them, because you're the one who needs help right now. And I understand we all come from backgrounds, where, all kinds of beatings could have happened, like taking boards and beating their children in the backs or any body part, and or belts or rods. Now I do have to say, I have been beat with all of them in one form or another throughout my life. So I do know what each each what do they call it? They do have a name for that, where spanking tools or whatever you want to call it. You know, they do have a name for that for people that are into dom and sub relationships, people that have butt fetishes or ass fetishes. So there's some crazy stuff out there. So they do have many things out there to beat children with, or even adults. So but when it comes to children, you know, where I came from, the church I came from, they were beating kids as babies, still wearing diapers, you know, because they cried. You know, that's what the preacher was preaching. If you can always visit that church out in Pennsylvania, Old Paths Baptist Church. I'll make sure I'll get the correction, the spelling, and everything that on this video. You can always give that man a visit. You look for a man that looks like Hitler. But yes, that church really exists today. I thought they closed down because of Starlight, but apparently they opened back up or something. And so in the Bible, it's saying more or less, you know, like to use a rod. But do you really have to start off with a rod? Because that's what this church did. No matter what the child did wrong, is that they got beat with a rod. Every single time. There was not one time did I ever remember hearing any preaching saying, you know, like, take things away from your children, discipline them. They like the video game. Well, of course, they weren't allowed to play video games in that church. So take their bicycle away. Okay, you can't, you know, whatever. You know what they like. Every child is different. So you might be able to discipline Sally one way and say, you know, you're going to have, you know, maybe she doesn't like being by herself. Hey, now you got to sit in your room by yourself, you know, and think about what you did. But you know what? You've got to communicate with your kids, and you never should discipline your kids when you're angry. And a lot of you might actually, you know, be people that smoke cigarettes, drink alcohol, or even possibly drugs of some form. Those are other things that really can mess things up as far as disciplining your kids. All three of them. Yeah, cigarettes. If you haven't had your cigarette in a while and you're in the middle of a mess with your children, yeah, it could stir some shit up. So, and I believe they should have a 24-hour hotline number to call at any time, and that somebody in your neighborhood, in your area, wherever location, you can call that number and say, you know what, I'm having an issue right now with my children. Can you immediately call somebody, and can you send somebody at this location before I do something wrong? I don't know why they don't have that, but they really need to. They got tons of people out in the world that really could use some jobs, and it should be a free service for the community, for parents that have gone through abuse themselves and don't know how to handle their children, period. So, you know, there's ways, you know, find out what your kids like to do. All your children are different. They're all individual. That's why not one book out there can help you out to take care of all of your kids, because they're all individually unique in their own way. And a big thing with parents, they focus, you know, they can focus more on what the child's not doing right than to pay attention to what the child is doing right. So if you got a child that's always getting in trouble all the time, are they in public school? Well, you know what? That could be a big source of the problem right there. There's a lot of kids out in the world that don't want to go to public school. They could be under parents that don't want to hear what the child has to say when they go to school. I don't want to hear any of the problems that you have at school. Shut up, get in your house, do your homework, eat your dinner, go to bed tomorrow morning. get up, eat your breakfast, bring your lunch, you're going to school. Public school is not the greatest thing for the children, because there's a lot of toxic energies in there, a lot of children coming from abusive families that are all in the same space. One spoiled, rotten apple will spoil the whole bunch, just like a police department. Same thing, even the churches. So, you got to think of different ways, of disciplining, like having a stick or a rod or a belt shouldn't be a joke at the house. If you have a stick, it shouldn't have the children's name on it with, like it's a joke when every time they get beat. That whole thing, if you are or were or want to, use like a rod to discipline your kids, why don't you first try it on your own ass first before you apply it to your own children? How do you know by using it on your children what kind of pain it's actually, what kind of message is it sending to them? And do you communicate with your children when you are disciplining them? Do you tell them why? Are you a good detective? Do you know that they did what they're being accused of? Are you 100%? Did you just listen to Johnny in the house? I gotta pick on Johnny. Maybe the oldest brother or the oldest sister, we'll say Sally and Johnny. So they're the oldest. So if you have all girls and you got all boys or a mixture of both or whatever. So Johnny is the oldest. And so Johnny says, Tiffany did it. Well, how do you know that Johnny's not lying? Maybe Johnny really did it. Maybe Johnny said, Tiffany, you better not say a word about what happened or I'll beat you later. So Tiffany's not going to say shit because she knows that her big brother will beat her. So she's not going to say anything because she'd rather get beat by mom and dad than to take a beating by her brother. Now the same goes with the girls. Just because they're girls don't mean they're innocent. Not that I had to deal with that part. My sister was younger than I didn't beat my daughter. I mean, I say she's my daughter because I was like a mom to my sister. She was blind and handicapped, and I loved her so much. So, so I didn't have any. She was my daughter. I say my daughter. See, I can't help it. Anytime I talk about my sister, she was my daughter, my first daughter. With sisters, they could be little bitches, huh? The oldest, you always got to keep an eye on the oldest ones because, you don't know what's going on behind scenes when mommy and daddy are gone and brothers and sisters are watching each other. That's why it's so good. Even if your sons and daughters are watching your sons and daughters, or daughters or sons, you should have a secret camera in the house. You don't know what the oldest ones are doing, or even the middle child, is doing to the youngest ones. Brothers and sisters can be very jealous and envious of each other, and a lot of times it actually stems to the way the parents are as far as how they're treating each other in the family. So sometimes parents will have favorites. Should we have favorites? I don't have favorites. I love my kids both the same. And I never had any of them saying, hey, you love this one. No, my daughter says, hey, you know what? She liked how I had the balance between both. So you really got to keep an eye on things as far as like what's going on behind the scenes. But number one, as far as having children, the parents ought to be a great example to their kids. And I am going to have to this is going to be part one. I'm going to have to finish the other part because it's already almost 40 minutes on this, and I didn't even really, I never know how this is going to go. And like I said, I don't want to be speedy about this, but it does take a long time to do this. And a lot of people out here, I got so much more to say on this topic, and I need this. You need this. They need this. The children They need this. They need to, really have the right kind of parents that are going to be, not that the parents are going to be perfect. It's just that the parents should be the example in the house, just like at churches, the people at the church, what kind of example is a pastor if he's smoking, smoking cigarettes, and preaching the word of God? What kind of example is that? So, and I know nobody's perfect, but really, there's outward sins and inward sins. So it's almost like it would be like having an alcoholic, preaching the word of God do you really want to go to church when, like we're getting stoned and here we go, we're going to preach the word of God to people. So anyway, I do have to end this video because of time. And these are serious videos, so Starlight's not going to be smiling a lot in these because, these are serious videos. And I just really want to help you out as far as when it comes to disciplining your kids and different ways of disciplining your kids and how you can do different things to help them out as far as when they are disobeying you. I love you so much. This is Starlight. You can give this video a thumbs up. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel. Plus, don't forget to leave a message down below. And you can share my videos with, let's see, I'm thinking of all these animals again. Starlight loves animals. I'm just trying to think if I've seen any animals recently. A horse. You could share my videos with a talking horse, Mr. Ed. I did that before about Wilbur. So I love Mr. Ed. And also, let's think of a parrot. Besides these animals, don't forget to share these videos with your family and friend. And also you could check out my playlist. Plus, follow me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K, Dingman Starlight. I love you all, and I send lots of love to you. This video, I have to say, I'm not here directing at you. I understand a lot of us, me and you, have gone through shit in our past. So it's not 100% anyone's fault of why they are the way they are as adults. But on that note, it doesn't mean that you have to keep on repeating it over and over again. Things that we should not do with our children and things that we should do for our children. So anyway, I'm not here to beat anybody up with this. This is just bringing awareness and to help maybe all of you out as far as with your children, as far as how to handle things or to correct things. I love you so much. This is Starlight, and I'm sending a lot of love out to you. This is Starlight. Namaste. Starlight, love, light, and peace.